How's it going, guys? It's been a while since I've done my last video, and pretty sure the last video I did was the Planet of the Apes alternate ending. That was interesting, but recently I've picked up a new interest. Planet of the Apes is still a movie series I love, but it kind of goes along with the sci-fi, more of the creepiness a little bit more than the sci-fi aspect, and that is of the Manson family. um, just the whole subject of that. Not just the murders, not just Charles Manson, but everything surrounding that. And I guess it just goes along with me being like a history major. Whatever it is, it doesn't really intrigue me in like a compulsive way, but it treats or an obsessive way, but it interests me more in a historical analysis way and kind of just analyzing like an anthropological way in a way. And so, yeah, so I'm gonna be making a series of videos, and then you're like, well, what's the series of videos? Well, these videos are aimed towards people my age. They're gonna be aimed towards people between the ages of 18 and maybe even 16, 15, and like 30. So people who were born 2 or 3 generations after um, these murders actually took place and the trial actually took place. So really for everyone from 19 like 88 up till whenever you want to watch this. So this is like an introduction video. We're gonna go into a little bit and what's gonna happen. So hoping to make a series of videos and upload it. One starting tomorrow, hopefully. Um, Basically go over everything that happened between how it started, various people, um, murders itself, the lore of it, the location of where everything was, and the lore that kind of came afterwards, and the trial. I mean, that's me being a hopefully a future law student. That's me being interested in that. Yeah, so going, I mean, and if you see this and you already know like the facts and everything, you might be a little bit bored by this because I'm just going to be restating facts and I'm just going to kind of as a historian, I'm just going to kind of say it as I'm interpreting. I'm not going to go along and just say, the murders happened on August 9th, 1969. I'm going to say kind of look at it from multiple perspectives. I'm going to also play a very neutral role in the sense of I'm not going to go with one side or the other side saying, Manson didn't do this or Manson did do this. You have your own opinion. I'm going to go from the historian side. This is also me kind of being a historian in a way. First, kind of writing it through, oration, but in a sense, there's different paths, there's different timelines, there's different ways to look at things, and so try to look at it from both perspectives. And even if you do know the facts, it's not just gonna be facts. It's gonna be that multiple kind of ways to look at it and different angles and theories of things. So it's really not just gonna be the facts. But that is gonna be a good amount of it is just gonna be the facts. And so because I know a lot of people my age, and even some people older than me, definitely people younger than me, have no clue, no clue unless you're a bit on the outside, if you know what I mean. Unless you're drawn to that kind of odd counterculture. But an average Joe like myself would not be interested, or not. I should say would not be interested. You know what I should say? Doesn't know about Charles Manson. They think Charles Manson, and they think, okay, murder, just as I would. The way I stumbled upon it was me being a historian. It was like referenced somewhere at one point on the internet, on Twitter, or something like that, and I was like, you know what? I don't actually know anything about this. I've heard things, and I don't know anything about this. Let's look up exactly what it is. And that's how a lot of things are with me. That's how like things with like wars are, things with like certain people that like you hear of in history or certain television shows. You're like, I've heard of this show. I don't know what it's actually about. Kind of like that. And I don't know. With this, it like just drew a fascination towards me. And it's something where it's like, I'm not like a follower. Like I don't believe in any of this stuff. I don't plan on you know, I plan on from the, as I said, it's a purely historical, as a historian, as a person who really, it's really a part of American culture. It's what killed the 60s. And from the moment I started reading one thing, and then I was like, okay, this is interesting. And I go on his page, and I'm reading his history, and then I see, oh, then this girl, so I click on this girl's Wikipedia page, and then this follower's Wikipedia page, and boom, 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 and it leads into the murders, and then it leads into, wow, the Beach Boys, and, all that stuff. And he was actually a guy who was well known throughout Sunset Strip. And I mean, it's just a whole thing. And started from there to kind of just listen to interviews of him, and then I found the copy, an audiobook on YouTube um, of Helter Skelter, the book by prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi. Very good book, great book. Now, I don't care whether you agree with the motive or not. Great book. It is written so well. He covers his case so well. It's like a how to be a prosecutor. Perfect. I don't care if, as I said, from a neutral standpoint, I mean, personally, I do believe that the motive probably was the Helter Skelter. Now, I don't believe that. Um, I'll get into that another time. I don't personally believe that he's like a psycho killer. I just believe that the drugs and the fact that he killed, or he thought he killed Black Panther member, and the fact that he got in a lot of hot water with a lot of different various individuals made him paranoid, and that he's not a psycho. He's a paranoid, delusional character. Um, but I listened to the entire audiobook before I'd go to sleep. I'd listen to that, and sometimes I'd fall asleep with it still in my ear. I have to go back, and sometimes I'd just listen to it if I'm not doing anything. And I mean, I'd really listen to it. You know what I mean? It would really impact, and taught me a lot of things in trials as well, and things of that nature. And I mean, one thing just led to the other, and I know everything. I've watched the TV movie from 2004. I haven't seen the old one because the 2004 one's from the perspective of Linda Kasabian, and that's a little bit better than from the perspective of the detectives, because that's just reading the story in video form with actors. I mean, that was such a good portrayal. And then, of course, recently I found out there was a thing called Aquarius, and I was like, whoa, that's on NBC, and when's it premiering? A month from now. That was back a month before. So I watched the whole first season online, and now I'm watching the second season. It's good, it's good. It's not amazing. The first episode of the second season was amazing, and it's definitely dropping the ball. It drops the ball a lot by flashing forward to the murders of Tate and LaBianca and things of that nature. So as I said, this will just be an introduction video, and the first thing I guess we'll go over is next time is the early lives of Charles Manson and some of his followers, mostly Manson, go up to, like, I'd say the 67 release, go up to then. But a lot of kids my age don't know anything. They think, okay, killer, he's infamous, you see him, unless you watch Aquarius, you really don't know much about him. There's no reason to know about him anymore. He's kind of everything that's said about him. Recently, of course, Leslie Van Houten got paroled. Only the governor could overturn it. Personally, I think she should be paroled. Personally, I think if you're gonna say don't parole anyone, it's it's three people. Don't parole Tex Watson. Don't parole Charles Manson, and then don't parole Susan Atkins, and she's already dead. Krenwinkel, the only reason I don't think she should be paroled is the punishment aspect of it. And Leslie Van Houten didn't really kill anyone. Um, but anyway, point being, people don't know, and it's something that I think is very interesting. It's something I don't know why. I feel like passing my knowledge on as a historian. I just feel like writing down what I have to report and what I'm interested in. The same way as if these sites say learn history and it's talked about different points in history. I don't have like any fancy graphics or anything, and I'm not going to put pictures of them up. This is merely just kind of a thing. If you watch this video and you want to know more things, maybe suggesting comments below what the topic should be. But as for next time, it's definitely going to be it's definitely going to be the early life of Manson as well with some of his followers. Now, real quick, before I wrap this up, I was watching the Twilight Zone the other day, and the last episode of the Twilight Zone ever. It was the July 4th marathon on the Sci-Fi Network, but last episode ever of the Twilight Zone is called the Bewitching Pool, and it is about, I don't know why it's called the Bewitching Pool, but it's about two kids who, let's just say, they're underappreciated by their parents. The fact that their parents kind of always, not yell at them, but they always like tell them, "Oh, stop doing this, stop doing that." You know what I mean? And then the parents are always fighting and they're bickering, and they're like, "Oh, this kind of sucks." And like then they go and they jump in a pool. They follow this boy. He's like, "Come with me." And the boy's like, "What the fuck?" Coming from a boy in my swimming pool, and they jump in and they go to this land where like children are free, and like this old woman named Auntie is like making cakes, and is like, this is like the land where children go like distressed and be free. And then they're like, all right, we'll come back and visit. And they're like, no, if you're here to stay. Most kids stay. And they're like, we love our parents and they love us, so we're gonna go back. And then the next day, the daughter gets like disillusioned to thinking like, because the mother said like things are gonna get better, and what the daughter thought was like everything's gonna go back to normal, like they're gonna be happy again. So she finds the brother again in this land of wonders, and they're like, "Come on back, like things are gonna be good." And he's like, "All right." They come on back and they sit down, and my parents are like, "We're getting a divorce," and they're like, "What? This is terrible. This is terrible. We're getting a divorce." You know what I mean? This is like things are like it's not. Things are gonna be that way for a long time. The mother's like snarking the father, and they're like saying like, "Now you kids better. You have to choose who you want to live with, to me or her." And it's like not like pleading like whether one wants to live with the other. It's like me or her. And it's just like the kids are like, "No, we want us to go back to normal." And they're like, "Well, it's not gonna happen." They're like, "Well, fuck this," and they dive back into the pool and they run away to the land where they live forever. And that is, well, where are you going with this, Dan? Well, where I'm going with this is it was the last episode of the Twilight Zone. The last episode of the Twilight Zone was in 1964. That just might be a foreshadowing, a coincidental foreshadowing to the 60s. That a lot of these kids, like Patricia Kenwinkle, Susan Atkins, Leslie Van Houten, all they either their parents got divorced or parents died. A lot of them, right? Or they kicked them out of the house, or they didn't appreciate him as much. Threw him, not threw him aside, but these kids ran away to like San Francisco, and they ran away to these communes, just like they ran away to this little land of freedom. And maybe that land of freedom just happens to be San Francisco, about 3 years down the road. And these kids, let's just say they're about 11 and 8, and let's say 5 years down the road, the oldest kid, the girl who's 11, is going to be 16. See where this is going? So there's like a coincidental connection between that this land is actually just like the Haight-Ashbury district around, and they're running away from the parents because things are bad at home, and they realize, like the voice in the background, "Please come back." They realize we fucked up, and that's where they meet someone like Manson. Not saying that Auntie's Manson. Auntie just represents the freedom of the peace and love movement. That everything's fine. There is no Manson in this scenario. I'm just saying that that's kind of it's odd. It's just something that I thought of, and it was part of the reason which made me say, you know what, I gotta say this to someone. This has got to be published. I think this is amazing, and then that led me to say, hey, let's do a whole thing. So I'm gonna wrap this up at 15 minutes over here. I know I make a lot of long videos. A lot of these will be long, but again, Manson facts and speculation and looking at it from different points of view like a historian and figuring out different connections like a historian for people who don't know about it, mostly kids my age, because there's the majority who don't know about it. All right, so that is it. I will see you guys tomorrow for the first video of this. See you.